What are the issues? Some of you have already participated in the proximity point city of the town and also have participated in the Ushindi Agribusiness Campus. I know some of you have bought in Marafa and Kuresa and Chamali and other places. This is the person in charge. So we'll give him a chance sometime in the course of the day just to talk about that and for you to be able to ask questions that are relevant to the things that we're going to talk about. How do you acquire land in the difficulty in Magarini sub-county? So from the national government, have our leaders from the county government talking about trade, agriculture, we'll be talking about land. We also have our legal counsel, Advocate Tonya Mwanya. Most of you who have been involved in any kind of transaction here, you have seen her signature. But I know that you're still looking to see what does she look like. She's right here, and she also sits in the panel. I'll be happy to answer questions of people who are investing. I know you come in through the banks, through ABSA, our able special sponsors, but you also want to have a good legal process that allows you to be bankable in everything. So we have Dr. James Kamau and we have Advocate Tony Wanya who have joined us. The other person who joined us as we were going on is Mr. David Mungai. Mr. David Mungai is a bank manager of Equity Bank, and he's also here with us today in France. So the reason I just took a bit of time is to have these technical aspects addressed and also to get attention. So John is online with us now. I'd like the people to just confirm that Johnson Cash is ready to go. Okay, John, we're very, very privileged and honored to have you. You've been introducing these people from the Kenyan diaspora, government officials in Kenya, bankers, and industrialists on how this new concept of ESG will be transforming the life of many. It is our hope that thank you. If you have seen anything going on, we are taking care, so much care of the people online. We don't want them to get distracted. So I don't want to take any further time. I know there's so many people outside, but you just have to keep on following the program. And very, very briefly, introduce Johnson Cash. He has been involved in massive economic development projects, having worked with all the major agencies like the United Nations, USAID, and others to help in building social and economic development. Johnson Cash has worked here in Kenya, in various countries in Africa, and is currently in India. He's also our lead in London for senior banking partners and organizations to ensure that those who want to do what Brian talked to us earlier on about capital, because that's the biggest challenge that many people face when they have great ideas, they have great innovations and great resources. So we want to put our hands together and welcome Mr. John Santash all the way to Bangalore, India, the next favorite time.
Thank you very much. Just checking whether I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, yes, you are.
I just need a technical help to share my screen. If I can get that access, we can get going. Yes, I got the access now. Thank you very much. So you are seeing a screen with billion lives, I guess. Just confirming that you are seeing my screen, right? Thank you very much. Thanks for giving an opportunity to talk to all of you. I have lived 8 years of my life in Africa. And I was heading Citibank for West Africa first, then East Africa, then South Africa. So I spent every part of my professional career in Africa for 8 years. A lot of learnings, a lot of experience that has helped me build this company called Billion Lives. It's so interesting to talk to you because this company's origin is in South Africa. And then I moved to India in 2009 and continued to build from here. Today, we will focus on specific aspects of what I learned in a developing economy where I live today, and what are the new opportunities that I see from a financial and ESG point of view. So today, what we will talk about an overall introduction, we'll talk about what is ESG and why is it important for countries like us who are in the developing world. What is this word sustainability finance all about and how is it taking shape? And I'll then conclude by talking about why we set up this company called Billion Lives and what are we seeing today. To start with, a quote from none other than Larry Fink, the most respected American investor from BlackRock. He just coined saying that next 1,000 unicorns will be in the green energy space. Even though he used green energy, it is going to be in the ESG space, is a better definition. Now, what does this mean and why is this trend happening now? Look at the way the market cap has changed from 1975 to 2020. We always used to say that market cap of a company is related to the assets they have, the factories, the machineries, the equipments, things like that. That has gone. Now, the intangible ones are more important than the tangible ones. The companies are not valued based on the factories and the machineries they have. That used to be the case in the 1970s, but not anymore. And look at the way this is coming up. So if somebody has to get a tangible asset, an intangible value coming, Apple, Google, these companies don't have factories. They all are coming up saying that their intangible assets are more valuable than the tangible ones. So various concepts companies are putting together to increase their value based on the intangible ones. Now look at this. In this list, only company which is not directly like the Apples and the Microsofts, the Saudi Arabia Aramco. All the other four in the top market caps in the world are not having the tangible assets, they're having intangible assets. So let's look at what Aramco is now doing to retain their position. They are massively investing in ESG because for them to keep that market cap going, knowing well they are one of the most polluting industries, still they are at the top because of the fossil fuels are still being sold and bought. They are investing heavily into making them see as an ESG or environment social governance lens on the top of it. This is the trend which is picking up all across the world. If you look at the three aspects of it, what is it? It can be largely consumed as people, planet, and profit. The stakeholder values for a very, very long time, we were conformed to the third P, which is profit. Now, we are now saying people and planet are very important for your intangible value. So as a company to increase their intangible value, which will lead to the profit, they have to necessarily do work on the other two P's, the people and the planet. That realization has come to almost every large corporates across the world. Now, what does that mean in literal terms? The left-hand side, you see a lot of standards. These are the sustainability standards that evolved over a period of time. Now, every country has come with their standards. And there are some standards which are regional in nature, some are global in nature. The prominent ones are the GRI, SASB, TCFD. These are standards on which you report your ESG. What is more interesting for today's conversation is the right-hand side. There is $53 trillion going to be available by 2025 to be called as ESG assets. That means today that is somewhere in the 37, 34 is the last number I read in 2021. And it says 53, and it says that it will become a massive number in the time to come. And this money has to be deployed for ESG purposes. And this money is coming from the developed nations. So where do they go and spend this money on? That's where our conversation is taking us to. Now, if you look at the thing, all these organizations which are considered to be in the first world are forced to do their ESG rating, forced to do their, they have to start this journey of the S, E, S, and G. E is the environment part, S is the social part, and G is the governance part. And they have to do it in one standard or other, depending on which country they're coming from. And to report it in the right way and get the right rating, they have to do some action. And the actions cannot be done in the country where they are. That's the realization that is making us very, how do I put it? It is making a new opening for developing nations like India and Africa. Now, it's all coming down to CO2 or the GHG emission, greenhouse gas emission, as they call it. So there are three types of emission that come, called the scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. But let's not go into the details of it, but net, it says that any corporate, they can manage their 1 and 2 because that is their own emissions, and 2 is the suppliers what they buy the products from to manufacture the thing. The 3 is something which is external to them. So they need to measure the CO2 emission to keep the journey going for them. And if they cannot reduce it, they have to buy carbon to reduce it. So the game is all about, if I cannot reduce my own carbon, can I buy somebody else who has reduced the carbon and offset against my pollution? Now, because they have to increase their tangible assets, a factory in US or a factory in Europe is ready to buy carbon from India or from Africa. And we are the world source of carbon offset. So can we monetize that is where we are taking this conversation to. Now, if you're able to measure, if you're able to analyze and find insights from the where we are, we will be able to produce enough of this which can be taken up in the developed world. Let's move on. So the carbon pricing is is not a standard yet, but it's like trading equity today. If you're able to monetize carbon, if you're able to capture it, get it certified, there are multiple agencies in the world which certifies the carbon. If you're able to certify it, that's a tradable asset, and the price goes up over the period of time, depending on which exchange, which market. It's a buyer seller like any other stock exchange. There are exchanges in Singapore, in Europe, in Dubai, which trade on carbon, and they take the carbon from countries where we are. And that is what giving the buyer an advantage, and we get the cash around it. Now, G20 is coming to India next year, or this 2023. Two big terms they've put together. One was climate finance and the other is the startups. These are the two focus areas India said, we will put this together. India has made a very bold statement saying that we as a country will not be able to stop our coal-fired power stations. We will not be able to, we need to take electricity to every part of the country. We need to burn our carbon because we are very small compared to what the advanced nations are. But if you're able to capture that, we will trade it to the external world. Now, having said that, the E, S, and G, today we will focus on the E and the S in this session. So S is very close to my heart. E is what we all have to do to keep that 1.5 degree control by 2030. Now, I like to introduce this term for the bankers and the finance people in this room, which is a very prominent term coming in called sustainability linked loan product. Now, this is catching up in different parts of the world. What it says, if a loan is provided to a corporate, we'll come to the retail side in a minute. If a loan is given for a purpose of reducing the sustainable impact, could be energy efficiency, for water purification, for air, the interest portion of that loan can come down if you show by documentary evidence that that particular investment or the loan has produced the expected sustainable index. So if a normal interest rate is 10%, if you're able to show that loan has produced less carbon, the interest will come down. So what is that interest coming down for a banker point of view? This is how it works. Now, I need a loan as a corporate to do something. I go to the bank and ask for a new facility. And one of these improvement projects, it may be for solar plants, it could be for water, it could be for wind power, whatever. And the global agencies, the IFCs, the United Nations Carbon Credit Exchange, the fund, or the African Development Bank, they all come and back the bank, the financial institution, saying that if you prove that this loan has reduced the impact on the Mother Earth, we will give you a subsidy which you can offset against the loan interest. So if the normal loan interest is 10%, if you prove that it has helped you reduce the impact on the earth, the IFC, World Bank, African Development Bank will give a subsidy. So this is the product. So these products have to be designed in partnership with the bank. And there's a lot of money floating around. That $53 trillion is all coming from this side to back the banks to do this. Moving on. So what we do is a platform. We are in the business of putting a platform for the banks to create the sustainability finance linked finance product, wherein banks can go to their corporates and say, bring such projects which can attract this sustainability linked loan product, commit what are the sustainable performance targets that you'll achieve, come and prove that you actually achieved it, and then produce the standards as per whichever the standard that you are put together, whether GRI, SASB, TCFD, whichever standard that you are really done this. This entire management is what we do with the bank. Now, who's the benefit? The corporates and the businesses in the country is going to benefit because they are going to get a lower interest rate loan, and the World Banks and the IFCs are going to back the bank to make this happen. This is in the corporate world. Now we go into the retail world. What we are doing is ESAF is a bank in India called, it's an Evangelization Bank of India, which was started 20 years back. We are putting together a neobank. The term is very new in the industry. It's called a neobank for social ventures. How this works? We go into the Indian community and say that show small farmers, small enterprises who are social ventures, who have a potential impact on the mother earth. Could be by environment way or the social way. Improving the livelihood of people is also acceptable here. Bring your projects into this system. We have this system called IMWorks. Put your projects and show how much money you want for it and how much output. That is, what impact are you going to do if you get the money? That is quantified, and the scheduled bank comes and give the loan, and a guarantor. It could be one of the diaspora who may come in, or it could be an high net worth individual who come in and say, I will stand guarantee for that loan, because otherwise bank will ask for a collateral from this small farmer, which will become a problem. And if this loan is properly paid back to the bank for this project which they are doing, the guarantor also gets a part of the loan benefit which the bank is getting. This is how we have designed this product. And behind this, we have brought the same developmental finance agencies so that the interest rate will be smaller than what a normal bank loan interest would be. So this is the product we're working on in the Indian economy now. And what this product also does is, because it is called neobank, the word neobank means you run this bank with the license of an existing bank in the country. It is not a new license. It's a new brand for the purposes intended for. So when you call it as a social venture neobank or a name like a social bank, you will give the people who opened the project will have tools to say, how do I manage the project? How do you manage the expenses? How do I make payment to my customers? All that embedded into the bank account. And that is what the bank will directly get fee income. And net, our objective is to reduce the cost of finance to the small and medium or micro enterprises who have a social impact. So one, they will reduce the loan interest. Secondly, it generates carbon. So every project that you can imagine will generate carbon offset. That's a secondary income for the social venture. This can be traded in the global carbon exchange market, and that can produce an additional income to the guarantor, who could be a diaspora, for the bank, and more importantly, for the social venture. So is this something new? It's definitely not new. So India has got a bank called Union Bank of India. They have done a large scale sustainability finance loan across the world. There is Emirates NBD. They have come in and said they support for two types of things, that is gender diversity and reduction in water consumption. And these projects doesn't mean that they have to do it in Middle East or in Dubai. The projects could be anywhere. They will do through other banks. It's only to structure it to where they can find such mandates. Why they need these mandates? Because their funding is linked to this deep mandates. If you look at ADCB, they got 35 billion dirham. That's as good as $10 billion, which is available for green finance. And Mashreq, no different. They already disbursed 11.7 billion during the COP27 for various organizations, and large part of it comes from Vietnam, Malaysia, India, and certain parts of Africa. So it is not that this money is only staying in the Middle East. It is coming to our continents because they can't find such projects in their world. But they need to do that as per their mandate. This is a very interesting one. I just want to bring this to the attention. There's a Rabobank has got a lot of presence in Africa, and they launched a new bank called Carbon Bank. Now look at the mandate. Carbon Bank is developing climate smart initiative to focus carbon farming. So they are clearly saying, I am in the business of carbon farming. I'll give you money to a farmer in Africa. They're very much only Africa focused, saying that you do your farming, you create, you grow whatever you're growing. I'll capture that carbon that you are generating out of it, and I'll trade it. So this is how the world is now evolving, and this is the opportunity. Now look at this. This is Investec in South Africa. Investec has come and said, they have put a product for the African continent saying that if you are in the SME business and if you are trading, this is how you trade and then get value out of it. And if you have ESG in part of your things that you're trading, we'll find access for low cost money for doing that. Now, just to conclude, Absa Bank recently came up with the Absa Africa Financial Market Index 2022. A brilliant document. I was so happy to read this document and just want to quote this part of it. Kenya is one of the countries that was very clearly spelled out, saying that their ESG governance is very high and they have got a great climate risk framework in place. And that is leading to financial stability and regulation. If you have that, the access to sustainable finance is much easier because you got the foundations and right, the government has done the right thing. So with this, just an introduction, what we do as a company, we've been in the business of sustainability for a very long time. We have an advisory service, which we work with banks and financial institutions to develop these products, which I've been talking about. We help banks and other institutions to capture the carbon and trade it in various markets. We help banks set up neobanks or groups of people to set up neobanks. As a company, we set the company to touch 1 billion lives in our lifetime. So far, we have done 24 million lives. We have disbursed the $1.3 billion for various government schemes because India has got something called the direct benefit transfer. We've been in this for a very, very long time. We started in 2015 in South Africa with the EduLoan as the first customer. We went on doing multiple things in our journey. Everything we did has got a social angle, but we are a for-profit company. We are a private limited company, but we do things which are in the social space. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you just show the video? Thank you so much, Dr. Santosh. Very inspirational. And at the perfect time, we are here, diasporans are investing. So we are small entrepreneurs, we are buying farms, and there are opportunities. And a lot of it, ESG, there are ESG elements in all of it. So really, really thank you for that. And we would love to connect with you more. You know, I don't know if you have an opportunity to stay on for a little bit and even part of the panel. But I just wanted to thank you for that. And we will definitely talk. And if there's an opportunity to start, the banks are here as well. So Absa, Equity, DTB, and KCB. It sounds like there are opportunities to think and about how you innovate this neobank type of system. So if you have it, that's great. If you don't, be quick. The first innovator wins. So hopefully you'll have an opportunity to talk to us about that. Okay, my name is Dr. David Githuku. I'm going to be doing the next talk, and I'll try and be relatively quick so that we can get to the panel. But a lot of it actually ties in to what Dr. Santosh was talking about. So I'm energized to talk about this. So for my background, David Githuku, I born and bred in Kenya. Went to school in Canada, actually. So I did my bachelor's and my master's degree in chemical engineering in Canada, came back to Kenya, and I worked in Changamwe at the petroleum refinery. So I was a chemical engineer there for nearly 4 years. And then I went to the States, got my PhD in engineering. But the reason I went and got my PhD is I always had a passion to help create an industrial consulting network so that I can help small farmers who want, or small entrepreneurs who want to start cottage industries, to empower people. So that was always in my heart. I was very young. I went looking for money. People said, you're not qualified enough. You don't have the experience. Maybe if you had a Dr. Githuku in front of you, people might take you seriously. So I went to do my PhD in America with the hope of coming back to Kenya very quickly to start. Life happened. 26, 30 years later, I was there, but my heart was always thinking about Kenya, always thinking about how do I help empower the people in Kenya to prosper. I think, Brian, you said something, or maybe somebody else, I think even the doctor said this, is that one of the ways to get people out of poverty is entrepreneurship, small, medium enterprises. So ACE Online, I retired from Procter & Gamble after 26 years. And during COVID, I was here the very last flight before everything was being shut down. So I was here, my family is in the States. My wife said, you can stay if you want. My children were like, no, Dad, come home, come home. So I left, and then I was stuck. What am I going to do? I went online. So one of the technology opportunities, I said, hey, anybody interested in learning how to do business, small entrepreneurs? And we had 20, and they're here, some of them. We had 20, mostly women, who are willing to listen to a masterclass on how to start business. So that was ACE Online Academy. And over the last 2 years, we have touched at least 600 Kenyan entrepreneurs in some way doing online training, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Zoom. The outside, when you go, you see the different businesses there. Those are ACE businesses those are cohorts that we have sponsored here in Kenya. And I was almost tearing up when I saw, what they were doing there. One opportunity though, and I will maybe say that a few times, they want funding. They want funding. They are small and medium enterprises. They have a vision and ideas of how to scale, but they don't have the funds right now. And it's very difficult to go to commercial banks to get a loan when you don't have the backing. Now I heard about neobank, so there may be an opportunity there. But I'll maybe stop selling there, but that's for me the objective. Before we leave here, I would love that the ACE people who are here and the ACE community that we serve have an opportunity to get funding, whether it's from the banks here, whether it's from the World Bank, whether it's from the the bank that Dr. Santosh was talking about. We would love that. Anyway, I was given a discussion topic called disruptive innovation. That was the topic. Can you talk about disruptive innovation and how that can impact wealth creation, in the nation? So that is the general topic. But before I go there, I'll just highlight. You can already see these are the 6 focus areas that we're in. We want to empower, especially the youth, with ICT freelancer training, and we have been doing that. So we actually started a pilot, and some of the students are here. And the pilot is you hear about Ajira, you hear about how you can get the youth to be empowered in digital and can get work online and get global work online. But a lot of that global work happens to be lower paying type of jobs. it's sort of a commodity thing. Type in transcription and things like that. But what we've been doing is saying we have a lot of very smart, talented Kenyan youth who they are software programmers, they are media, they know social media, they can program, all of that. So we actually do what's called a premium freelancer challenge. And what premium means is that they can charge $35 an hour sitting here in Kenya doing work around the globe. So I'm actually partnering with a friend of mine. He's from the Philippines, and we are part of a global entrepreneurship community. He's in a community with 8,000 freelancers in the Philippines who are networking together to figure out how they do business and exchange. That 8,000 community is going to be part of our community here. So we will learn. So where is Faith? I will, if Faith is here. Faith, are you here? Yes, Faith. So she's in, so we did a pilot class, about 10 of us, and on freelancers. Faith speaks Chinese, and she has a Chinese business. But we were training her, how do you think even outside of Kenya? And so she started going online. Yesterday, she was excited to say that she has generated new business just from that training. And she didn't share how much, but she was excited about how much money she's making, sitting here in Kenya, selling the talent and the gift, or the skills that she has outside of Kenya. So thank you. But you'll talk to many of them. Youth and women vocational training. So really our model is train small and medium enterprises here in Kenya, especially for people who care about the poor, who care, who want to make a social impact. And then they're the ones who, as some of them are coaches, so they're training young people to start their businesses, and that's going on. Some of them are producing products and creating employment. But the whole idea is it's a social impact for-profit business. So that's what we do. It is so exciting and so fulfilling just to see the great work that the people are doing. We're also involved in some of the companies' agro-business, agro-industries, and we have one of the ACE members who they were doing farming in Kitale, and they heard about proximity points. They heard about Kilifi. They moved from Kitale, they're here in Malindi. And you'll see the farming. So I'm glad that the Minister for Agriculture is here. I hope you make the connections. Okay, textile and apparel production. So you can see some of the people who are out there with a lot of the textile, a lot of the different products that they make. Make sure you buy from them. So thank you for that. Green manufacturing and renewable energy. When Dr. Santosh was talking about $53 billion available, was it trillion or billion? 53 trillion. Oh my goodness, we can get 0.001%, and that will be millions over here. So we are involved in green manufacturing, we're involved in off-grid energy, and we want to do it here in proximity. We want to do it here in Kilifi. Okay, so when I say green manufacturing, as I mentioned earlier, I'm an industrialist, and we've done many different projects all the years that I've been at P&G, and we're continuing to do some of them. So we've got some of the people here who are manufacturing in that space. Also, this renewable energy. So we talked about Lemma. Lemma is one of our partners, and Lemma in the US, they make off-grid solar panels that not only about the electricity, but also about heating water, providing internet access, and so on. I've got an ACE member here who lives in Lokichogio, and in Lokichogio, he started a business where basically he has a cyber cafe, internet cafe, but he has issues with Safaricom sometimes, and challenges there. Just imagine putting in this off-grid solar panel right next to your shop, that you have access, whether you're connecting to a satellite, you have access to the internet. you've got the electricity in that community. You're creating multiple businesses. You're a small, and medium enterprise entrepreneur. The number of opportunities that you can create, small little packing factory type ideas there, so, and of course you're lighting the community that you're in, where there are challenges with getting electricity. So this is what I get excited about, is that these opportunities really will change the world. Now, bringing it back to proximity point, that why I caught the vision is because my heart was already in there. So the vision bearer, Professor Lucas, he sees this vision. What we want to do, we want to change and transform the lives of people in Kenya. We do want to make a profit, because if you don't make a profit, you cannot sustain. So profitability makes sense, but it is both about income and impact. And when I saw his vision, and there's a curve about the innovators, it is like a sort of a bell curve. And at the bottom on the left, I wish I could draw this, I didn't have it, but they are the innovators. And then they are the early adopters, and it's a small percentage. And then you start having those who come later. So those of you who are here from the diaspora, you are the early adopters. You are the ones who are going to prosper. And those who are on the phone, you're going to prosper from proximity point. Those of you who are in this room here, including the government officials, as they work and interact with us, there are opportunities in whichever metric, that, you get promoted. The next thing, some of you might be the governors here, or maybe CSs and all of that, because of the impact that you have made in Kilifi County. So maybe I'm prophesying and preaching. Yeah, okay, I get excited about this topic. And maybe what I might do is now switch to my teaching mode for a little bit, but I don't want to take too much time. But what is disruptive innovation? And a lot of people throw these names around, but disruptive innovation really was defined by his name, the late Dr. Clayton Christensen, who was a Harvard professor who really thought about the theories of disruptive innovation. And what it is that you have an existing business, an established business. Banks, for example, are established. But somebody can come in with a totally new technology, maybe not as good as what is in there, but they're offering something different. And they may come, and the banks think, oh, there's nothing here. M-Pesa itafanya nini hapa? Ama mobile money itafanya nini hapa? So the banks are complacent. I tell the story. My late brother was chief IT officer for KCB, and he passed away about almost 10 years ago. But while he was there, he said, we better watch equity. Don't take equity for granted. Equity Bank was starting small with a micro, but the vision was so tough that he said that bank is going to be the biggest bank, because KCB and others are not, they are sleeping. Isn't that the case, right? Yeah, you're the biggest bank now. You are a disruptor. So you came in as an early disruptor. Maybe the offerings were not that great or were not that many, but they were there for a certain number of people, probably on the base of the pyramid, who could not get the funding. And you continue to do that. And as you do that, you grow, and your products improve, and your products expand. And then before you know it, because you have been the ones who have been innovating, and you're very creative, and innovation is all about learning. It's all about experiments. You're testing this, you're testing that, this works, that doesn't work, and you keep growing. So a disruptor is somebody like that. M-Pesa, yes, is a disruptor to KCB, but to the banks. Smartphones are disruptors to like the PCs. I wrote here for the Americans who know the University of Phoenix. That was the first online academy. I think it was started in 1989, and everybody was like, what is this? This is not a serious thing. But for people who had worked for many years, and so really they had a lot of experience. Can that be turned into a degree? They didn't have a degree, but they had a lot of experience. So there was certain training that they went online. So they were doing online in 1989 compared to Harvard. The Harvards and these top schools, the Stanfords, especially when COVID happened, they're like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Phoenix keeps going on, So this is a disruptor. And so that's I hope that's clear. what a disruptor is. Proximity point city of return is a disruptor. I'll just say that. It is not the same way as diaspora. You have money, tuna mashamba hapa. Come and buy these shambas here. It's not about that. It's about painting a vision of what's possible. It's about saying that if we who are in the diaspora, who are Kenyans and love our country and want to do whatever it is that we think we can do that will improve, and we trust that we're in a community of a trusted leadership, we're in a community where we want to help ourselves, but we also want to help the local community, that is a disruptor. And it is starting small initially. The grand vision is there. You can see it, and maybe it will be 20 years, maybe it will be 30 years when it is all done. But you start small, step by step. You learn. You've started with the pineapples, and we've started, and then we go the value addition and so on. So this is all good, so that's another example of a disruptor. Maybe this is a learning approach, and you're a startup. So the learning approach really is, you build a prototype, you measure the progress, you learn. Is that okay? If it was okay, you go scale. So actually, Brian talked about this: crawl, walk, run. So even if you have that big vision of building that city, step by step. Early adopters understand it. I think many people don't until they start seeing roads and buildings and apartments to buy and all of that. They see it. But oh, by the way, by that time, those things are costing 10 million to 20 million shillings. Well, those who are early adopters had paid 2 million. So anyway, that chart on the right, they're the entrepreneurs who just say, oh, let's just do it, let's figure it out. And then on the other side is the extreme of the people who say, let's just go build this big, massive thing when we haven't really identified, is there a market for it? So the answer is somewhere in between. The goal of a startup is to figure out what is the right thing to build, and do customers want it, and will they pay for it? So that's in everything that we do. So that is one of the things that I teach in ACE, is always look at assessing who your customers are. That is A for ACE. Assess who are your customers, what is their problem? And then C is create the solution to that problem. And then E is execute with excellence. So you have the solution. So when we start the cashew nut factory, I would come in and say, all right, it maybe is mothballed, but the equipment is still there. Let's look at it and let's see how can we start that again. Which is actually, in a way, and I know Brian didn't go into that detail, but Brian used a lot of the people who used to manufacture pyrethrum in Kenya, and he picked their brains. There were some people there who are there. So I hope that there are still people who are involved in that cashew nut factory. And there's equipment that was there. So there are opportunities to go and to build and to learn. And there's obviously new technology, but you go to a point of saying, okay, I have built it. Now I know I will start it. And then you're going to what are the different aspects that are needed. So it's not just the factory, what are all the different elements? So anyway, so that's it. I will pass through, I had some examples, but I think I will pass them. This one is one which is just an interesting one that I want to share, because this one is passionate to my heart. One of the ACE members who actually I mentor personally, his name is, I call him Jose Uma. Okay, I think Marianne is looking at me so I can go faster. I've got 2 more slides also. So Jose, he reached Form 3, and he couldn't go on because there was not enough money in his family, and so he had to stop school. He's a genius, this young man, and I'll tell you, God connected us in some way, and he and I have been traveling together for the last 4 years. But he has so many brilliant ideas. He went he was working in a cyber cafe. He self-taught. So he's self-taught in electrical engineering, he's self-taught in mechanical engineering, and his vision is building a jiko that does not use makaa, it doesn't use charcoal, and no gas. He's got an innovation, which all I can tell you is it's electromechanical innovation that powers this, this stove. It is a prototype, it is a startup. There are challenges that we have had with it, but at least that gives you a picture of sort of the idea that he has. Now, can you imagine talking about green energy? This is a green energy technology right here, where you stop deforestation, but we will need funding for it at some point, because right now the funding is coming from Sendwave from America. Anyway, okay. I want to close with maybe just giving an example, and this is more for inspiration. And you can go to this website, it's called ec30clean.com. And this is a disruptive innovation that I would say was led by Kenyans sitting in America. So Dr. Dinah Nyangiro is one of the investors in this city. And hopefully either Dinah, you'll listen now, or you're listening now, or you'll listen later, but I wanted to call her out. She is a brilliant innovator. She used to work for me. So I was the vice president of research and development in this organization. And we're working on a new platform, disruptive technology that the world hasn't done at all. And it was all about, you know, so for background, paper products to make a paper, toilet paper. I used to make toilet paper. I used to make paper towels, tissues, and all of that. To build a factory for making toilet paper, it is about $500 million in capital to build one. Very, very expensive. So the challenge was, can we come up with a new idea at half the cost so that we can go global? So the idea was about that. But long story short, we are still progressing. So that was the last project I had before I retired. We've made some tremendous progress there. But we discovered some new things. We discovered that the technology, I'll just say, you're spinning fibers and you're spinning, so you're creating, normally paper is made out of pulp from trees that you're cutting. Now we're saying, get away from that. So you're spinning. So what can you spin? A solution. And then can you make that into toilet paper, paper towels? Cassava is grown here. Cassava is turned into starch. You can spin cassava, okay? So if we can grow, and if a company like that went and they're going to build this factory, we probably need 10,000, 100,000 acres to grow cassava so that we can then use it as the raw material to spin these fibers. So that's, I'm just giving you, yeah, and it's renewable. I will close with maybe just showing you some samples. I will try not to make a mess, but because I'm a scientist, I like to do experiments. You can hold my microphone. But this, okay, this is an innovation right here. Hii ni sabuni. This is, so it's cardboard paper, and here, this here is a spun fiber of soap, hand soap. And it was made by Dinah Nyangiro as the lead technologist in that group. And normally when you do these disruptive innovations, where are you going to sell them? The market thinks we want to make big money, we want to sell them in America. She came to me and she said, can you please fund me $10,000? I want to do an experiment in Kenya. So I can demonstrate that this will change. Here, this is hand soap. It's about the equivalent of maybe 1 bar of soap or so. This one. This is a shampoo for washing your hair. I didn't bring there's a body wash. There's also a laundry for washing your laundry. Can I do a demo? Can I wash my hands? Okay. But you, okay. Where's the camera?
I don't have a
Okay, the
towel.
camera focusing. Yeah, okay, the camera is focusing.
Just one minute.
Look at that.
All right, that is disruptive innovation. I'm done.
Okay, let's give Dr. Nibuku a hand clap. What you don't know, and I know Dr. Nibuku was very modest, but just in Cincinnati alone, and I know there are others from Cincinnati. Is Nick here? Has Nick arrived? Can you see Nick somewhere? There are others from Cincinnati. In Cincinnati alone, in Ohio, we have 150 just now, PhDs, Kenyans, doing research, innovating, starting things. Some of them we are pulling them, one expert in food, cassava and everything. It's Otta. Matthew Baba. There's quite a number of serious people they are taking into this vision. We'll have a complete center for innovation. So we'll innovate using Kilifi products. We'll process them with your support, government officials, and make sure that we're no longer having to import, but we are exporting our products. Let's give Dr. Griffin.
Thank you so much. The ladies who are here, can you imagine how much storage space we are going to take by that? That. So I think we need to know a little more. We need to support that. We need to get some of that into our homes. Have my little girl over here. And then Miss William Wamboy. She is 9 years old and she's in grade 4. She is going to recite a poem on environment as we wait for our panel to get ready. So let me have her something. Come on here. Okay, right. So let's give a hand to Victoria.
My name is Deva Mamoy. I'm going to January. I'm going to get January. I am 9 years old. Wakenya nimechoka na tabia zenu mbaya, kukata miti kiholela, kisha mnalalamika. Mvua ikiwa kama ukipungua, jua likiwaka, tunakimbia tu. Kivulini cha mti ambao langu ni mti. Nyinyi ni wazazi wangu, kile mnanipa. Kikata miti yote, kesho yangu itakuwa vipi? Mkikata miti yote, mvua haitanyesha, chakula kitapatikana, maji pia hayatapatikana. Langu ni mti.
Wow, Miriam, that is so wonderful. Jina lako ni? Kweli kabisa. She reminds me of when I started in my life as a conservationist. That's my life. That was my life. And I ended up under the wings of Wangari Maathai, our late Professor Wangari Maathai, when I was still very young. And we grew trees. We planted a lot of trees all over the country. So I see a little Wangari Maathai here growing. So, thank you so much. You are so wonderful. And let's have more trees like you, right? Asante sana. So I'm going to introduce now Annabelle Denga. And Annabelle is the panelist, is the moderator for our panelists. So I will hand over to her and she will introduce the panelists as they come up. Thank you so much. Give a hand to Annabelle because she was stuck in the airport in London and it took a long time for her to get here. So she's jet lagged, but she's here. So let's give her a hand.
Thank you all. Thank you all. As I've been introduced, my name is Annabelle Jenga. I'm the daughter to Lucas and Helen Jenga. Just for your information. So this next session is titled Collaboration in Economic Development. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I live in the UK. I've lived there for the last 22 years and I'm tired. I'm tired of the cold weather. Even when you guys are complaining it's hot, I can't complain because I know what's waiting for me back there. By trade, I'm an information systems business analyst. I work for the UK government on their digital tax platform. So for this next hour, we're going to be having a panel discussion, and any questions you have about how, you know, our panelists can help promote economic development, not only for Kenyans, but also for those in the diaspora. Please prepare them, write them down. We've got a full hour. We'll get really deep into it. So this is a subject that's very close to my heart because I have a desire to come back to Kenya. I've tried several times different business structures, but because of supply chains, you know, things just kind of fall apart. So yeah, I'm not alone as well. I want to come back to Kenya and I want to be able to invest and, you know, make a secure move to come back. There are, I think, approximately 535,000 Kenyans in diaspora. And as you've heard, we all want the same thing. We all just want to come home. You know, they say east or west. Exactly. So we have a massive earning potential. So just in the last year, Kenyans in diaspora sent back 474 billion Kenya shillings, just in 12 months. So imagine if we had a formalized supply chain that was supported, that was digital. Imagine the possibilities, you know what I mean? I think we're in a place right now where China was maybe 30, 40 years ago, where they just decided we're going to invest in our people. If we also make the same decision, in 30 years, we could be where they are. So without further ado, let me invite the panelists up on stage. I'll say your names and you can come up, and I'll ask you to hold your applause. They're all up. So our first panelist is Dupont Ivanze of Absa Bank. So our first panelist is Dupont Ivanze of Absa Bank. Then we have Rosalind Degwa of Sparky Security Foundation. And last but not least, we have Advocate Sonia Wania. So please join me in giving them a big round of applause. Yeah, so one of the side effects of living in the UK is to become obsessed with it. So the timing you today, first of all, we'll start with Ivanze. I'll give you 15 minutes just to address anybody. Yeah. So.
Thank you, Annabelle. As you heard, my name is Dupont Ivanze. I'm the regional manager for Absa Bank Coast Region. But before I go into the introductory bit, I have a few of my colleagues here. I'll just introduce them. We have Mary Gilbert, she's our head of business banking for Coast Region. Nora Cherios, the branch manager for Malindi branch at Sparta. Elizabeth Gatega, she's in charge of premier banking for the Coast Plaza. Joy Yango is the relationship manager under premier banking. We have another Mazera in the house, David Mazera, in charge of our. Thank you, Professor, at least for inviting us, not only as a partner, also a sponsor. I know the county government of Philippines, the executive official over here. Thank you. We are looking forward to doing business together. Just briefly, before we go into the panel discussion, we've heard much about diaspora banking, and as ABSA, we are very much aligned to tap into that opportunity. Not only as sponsors or partners, but we want to have a journey together for all those guys who are in this house. So I'll just speak into what we have in store for diaspora banking. I understand sometimes maybe diaspora is a key challenge, as you've heard from the presenters before me. The diaspora banking value proposition that is set to launch actually next year in Q1 2023 is going to bridge the gap between the key needs you have as a diaspora bank client. The challenges you face when addressing these needs, but more specifically, the solutions that ABSA have put in place to partner with you and make it manageable no matter where you are. What are these things that I'm talking about as a diaspora client? I know most of us here want to have an easy and robust account opening process. We need to have remittance of funds in a cost-effective, secure, and convenient platform way. I know most of us in diaspora, since we live in foreign currency, you want to have FX competitive rates. I'm aware you need to have a competitive and variety of investment solutions to choose from and diversify. I know most of us here want to access our credit easily while in diaspora, and then personalize relationship driven by banking experience. But last but not the least, insurance solutions targeting protection of dependents, businesses, health, and funeral covers. So, in all this that you're talking about that you have as that program, how do we come in as an ABSA bank in addressing these needs? We have a competitive customer value proposition that I mentioned to you that will be coming to the market, that be one of our clients, to ensure a seamless experience when remitting funds and transacting. One of the things you see, you will open your account digitally from any part of the world and begin to remit funds for use, to support loved ones, or for even investments. Our robust, secure, and convenient digital platform will enable you to remit funds and make payments anytime, anywhere in the world. Thirdly, we'll have personalized engagement, and our 24-hour call center will be available to ensure that you have personalized access to any personalized banking anytime. And last but not the least, we'll have those competitive rates on the digital platform, so you'll be able to deal from the comfort of your seat, where you are in any country in the world. At the end of the day, I know most of us here at the blog. I saw some presentation here, and I was giving attention in terms of investment, in terms of growing. Our purpose will make sure that you grow your wealth, will identify and even connect you to investment opportunities. We have a variety of those investment solutions, both locally and internationally, and I made just to switch your needs. Recently, we launched option investments, government bonds, stock markets, and unit trust. And I have seen a lot of interest from customers, both potential and existing. And also, these people will also be able to access a mortgage, both in local currency and also foreign currency. We'll also offer you advisory services to navigate markets, investment, and banking. We'll also provide expert advice in just make sure that we provide the current market view and maybe the economic trends that are shaping not only Kenya but also the global world. But more importantly, we are going to reward your loans, total relationship to support your lifestyle and comfort. And how are you going to do this? We'll personalize relationship-driven banking experience, exclusive offers. The one for is for those guys who are traveling. When you come home to loved ones, we'll have those friends, and maybe we invite you to value the Symposium events and webinars. Last but not least, we endeavor to offer you a piece of mind and go an extra mile to protect you and your family. And how are we going to do this? Our insurance solution, I know most of us are very from it. We have a sister company called Fast Insurance Afterlife, and that gives you the insurance solution that give you a holistic protection for you and your family. We offer both love, life, and non-life solutions. Last but not least, we ensure that your credit facilities are product through our credit and life insurance. That was just to mention a few. Maybe you will recall, I think some few weeks ago, we were here in this room here, when we are visiting our embassies. And we were delighted to invite Professor Angela, who was our key guest speaker. So actually, that's how we came up with this idea of supporting the proximity. And this is just the starting point. And that's why perhaps we are going to have in strongly. And even in the near future, we are going to partner in various ways on how to make sure that it becomes a reality. And I'm happy also the county executive is here. We are also going to be part of this, and we are proud to also partner with you in case of anything to make sure that now this can all of us together. So I really want to go into details. I know we have to discuss on how this is going to assist really in terms of starting the economic growth of this economy. So I take it back to our moderator, Annabelle, and thank you for that.
Next, I'll invite Rosalyn to just introduce.
Okay, good afternoon. Protocols observed. My name is Rosalyn. I'm a business development manager and occupational safety and health at Stucky Hearing Technologies. So I had a presentation, but with all that is going on, I'm going to change everything that I'm going to talk about. So with Stucky, our headquarters is in Minneapolis, and we concentrate much more with hearing aids and actually hearing protection gadgets. So I've been hearing a lot about the proximity point. You're going to be coming up with manufacturing industries. So with me in place, it would be also important to have medical health within the facilities. All the employees being employed, like in the manufacturing plant, if it's a noisy place, they have the protective gadgets with them. So for Stucky, it's much more about protecting your ears. And if I may ask, how many of you have gone for a hearing test? How many have ever gone for a hearing test? Very few. So it's the same case scenario whereby you go for your yearly checkup with the eyes, every part of your body. So same case scenario happens even with our ears. We need to be doing annual checkups, but from people who are 70 and above, they need to do after every 6 months. So it is important even for our children, if you have the young ones, it is important to know if this child can actually hear. So we have equipment to do all that. We also do trainings on industries and on how to protect their ears, because majority of people are ignorant about it. Even just getting into loud matatus, using your headphones, all that can damage your ears. So it's important for all of us to actually protect our ears. And that's just about it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tony Amanya, a lawyer practicing in Malindi and throughout the Coast region. I'm also the legal counsel for Proximity City, where I represent them in different issues. Our major area of practice is conveyancing, where our duty is to advise people who want to acquire or to dispose their land by assisting them to carry out due diligence, ensure they are getting good title for the property they are purchasing. Some parts of Kilifi County have issues with land. I think Dr. Kamau would be better placed to talk about that. So we work with these land officers and we ensure that everyone who is investing here in land issues is protected. Thank you.
And thank you all. So at this time, I'm going to open up the floor to anybody with questions. Just raise your hand and get the mic to you.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Maurice. I have a question about banking. Those of us who live abroad have struggled with this problem. So I just wanted somebody to tell me or anybody bank kind of understand our pain and see if we can get some help from the Kenyan banking system. There is so much hoops and loops to open a bank account with any Kenyan bank. We have heard stories like those three words this gentleman just put it to us and sound very good. But when they get to the paperwork, you know very well we don't have income in this country. We don't work here. That's number one. Number two, we don't even have an address in Kenya. Number three, we make a lot of money though. So we only come to spend it here, we don't make it here. So when it comes to the paperwork to either open a bank account or get a loan from a Kenyan bank, we have a lot of problems. And I think most of us will agree with that. Is there any way, I know that FEMA SACCO did a very good job in luring most of us into their system because they make it very easy for us. And those of us who have lived abroad, you know how we like easy. We just want to sit there and click the phone and get it done. So we can transact money by M-Pesa to FEMA SACCO to easy. They make it easy, but FEMA SACCO is not a bank. So my question is to the banking system. Is there any way that the banking system in Kenya can consider the magnitude of the diaspora Kenyans, the financial backup that we have to make it a little doable for us to acquire loans in this country through the banking, so we can do what we want to do here, and we can pay them. We can pay those loans. We don't have any problem paying them, but we just don't have the system that supports us because we don't have a trace here, we don't have it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So I don't know, maybe we'll be taking the question at a time. But just before I respond to it, allow me to also call two of my colleagues to come and join me. The experts, Elizabeth and David Mazera, please join us so that you participate in this tough questions. But just to respond to your question, very true. Opening an account for Diaspora has been a nightmare. And actually, if you had me talk about what we are doing differently, we are going to launch that digital product that I told you and that will go live in the market at the first quarter of next year. What this means, you'll be able to open an account from your office. One of the key things that has been happening over time, the key documents to open an account, we have number one is the identification document, which is either a valid passport or a driving license, or maybe a national identity card. And then we will need somebody to introduce to confirm your address, or alternatively any agency to confirm your address. But if you look at now the way the trend is going, we have evolved over time, and now we are in the digital era. And we have a number of lenders who are in that space. But the beauty about our digital product of Diaspora, you'll be able to open accounts seamlessly from where you sit. So that product we are launching it in Q1 of next year, so that we will have problem. And actually, in fact, we say one of the key features of that solution, be able to access any funding from where you are, depending on your influence, whatever project you want. And that is specifically will cut out all your needs. There'll be 24 hours, somebody just to cut out for any issue. If you find any issue of that digital account, what will aid for that time is that now you will put your identification document into that account, and that is sufficient for you to have that UTM account. I don't know, maybe you can tell me.
Very nice. Okay, so what is the requirements for opening the account? The first one is, of course,
identification document, the passport or a Kenyan name. So if you have those and they are valid, you can even open the account now. Plus, a KRA PIN. I think that is what probably is giving most of the problems. But now that is the regulators directly. Every account that we open in Kenya, we have to get KRA PIN certificate. Probably that is the big point. But it's easy to get. If you just go into the website and apply for one, as long as you are Kenyan, you will be able to get that. So the other one is a photo. So if you have those three models, you will be here with an account, trust me. And that's what I need to do. Thank you.
Just to add, yeah, just to add, like my colleague, just to add, like my colleague has said, some are regulatory requirements. But like you see, the new government has set up a ministry for diaspora community, where now they engage several issues that you have, you will see the regulation now, you government body, and also they have to make decisions for you. So I think those forums as well, where like Professor said, where the president is in the UN. I think that's a time now to bring up any of the regulatory tasks that you know that you. I like from a button, very easy to look at the own part for the regulation. But you can use the Ministry of Diaspora for the organization that we have.
That's great, thank you. We have some other questions. There was one here that there's a lady back there in the green dress.
I'm so sorry. My name is Washo, and I'm still not satisfied. To add on what my diaspora friend there has said. Now, I as a diaspora that wants to invest in Kenya, seriously invest in Kenya, with proximity points. I do not have. You should not subject me. Okay. At the end of the day, you can hear me. I can hear myself, but I cannot hear them. Yeah, so forgive me. So I do not feel the banks in Kenya give us what we want, and that's where we get stuck. We lose a lot of investors in that process. You know, first of all, there has to be a process in which we can trust, a process that we can trust. When you tell me to go look for the my KRA certificate, there is e-citizen. Can you connect your banking system to the e-citizen where you can confirm that I actually have a KRA PIN, and that's all you need to give me a bank account. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we're away for two weeks. You still don't have you can still not pay for proximity, until you probably agree on 2 weeks prior. You haven't paid for it 6 months later, just because there's not a reliable banking system or a borrowing system. But how do we get that money to you, and how do we get that money to the Kenyan? We really need to think of a system in which you can make that easy. Now it's after, I don't know. Whoever gives us the best system will be the winner in this. I don't know how you're supposed to go about it, but I don't feel satisfied yet. So yes.
So actually, I would say that's something. I think we'll just bring one plus one. Sorry, one by one, I think. Or you want to answer it?
Exactly. So, hi everyone, my name is Joseph Odaka. I'm diaspora manager from the state of Oklahoma. I work here for a bank as head of diaspora, and I'm also a senior bank employee. worked for about 16 years for a bank in Oklahoma, so I understand both ways. So when you're talking about the whole process of growth, something in the sense of you come to us, give you the application, you apply for the loan. We will not require you to have bank here, because your salary goes to me, right? So what we will do, we just use Bank of Oklahoma, Bank of America, JP Morgan, wherever. So we'll be able to help. So, and then, because you see what we are saying is, if a Kenyan is coming and wants, we ask them to give us a statement, right? From, let's say, outside. Right? So we just please, from, let's say, farmer stories. If you want for farmer stories, that's us. So when you come, so what we'll ask you to do is, if you want for, let's say, point, right, as an engineer, so we'll just need you to give us your basic or just the base steps for together, and then we might also require you just to get that for using but there you know. So what we are doing with the substitute, the same thing that you keep us here, right? Then, of course, it just goes on. And we have people who are trained, and most of us working in the department, we are all from outside, so we understand. And the reason why we have the passion also, may give that very, very good example. My mother had to stay 3 extra days fighting cancer back in 2010 at the hospital because of a document that I needed to scan. And every time you go, you don't go, relationship manager, ask her job. So you stay the whole night trying to make this call. Because I had sent all my money, just a simple transfer. That copy for that go home. So that is why I think the things that have to be, because we are making it, is because you're having. You see what I'm saying? So we will be able to take care of it. And it is true, we also have the channels. So how do you send your money? Use way. And also the bank account opening also. Yeah, in fact, but right now we are testing. So in fact, and so we do have the solutions, but again, it's because also we've gone as well. Yeah, I'm just saying that. So in that case, as we are very, 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 and we are making sure that we are taking care of our clients based on our experiences as well. So if you come to us, don't worry, anybody. What's your name? Yeah, I'm the head of Diaspora.
Amazing.
Yes.
That was a great answer. I don't know if anyone from outside has to add anything.
Yeah, sorry, I really don't want to belabor the point, but for me, the key takeaway was a key question in terms of how do you make the account opening process seamless and digital. Because the current process is laborious, characterized by actually manual and physical documents. And back to a point, very true. The new digital account process I was talking about that we are launching in the Q1 of next year. We will connect our systems with national registration, actually, so that we'll be able to, and once you pop into that system and you are open account, it's able to populate all your details, even in terms of your identification document, and you understand everything. So that now becomes easier for you to access the account from where you are. So that now, even when it does not, and even in terms of when you want to invest locally here, what the desk will do in case you want to procure a property here locally, we'll have to that desk specifically will have to deal with our professional advocates in terms of to make sure that your money doesn't get lost. So for me, that's also very key. I don't know.
So we give loans to diaspora people. We do mostly secured lending, mortgages, fees. My friend here will also talk about asset-based financing. We do that a lot, and currently we even have clients who will give them loans, credit, and probably they are buying properties here. And our boss here says we also offer advice. And we connect you to developers. We have networks with developers around. So whatever thing you think about, our purpose as is to bring the communities to life, and we are committed to that. So I'll see more is after this. Thank you.
And thanks to everyone for your answers. Those are really great responses. I think it's good to keep in mind that, you know, you win, they win, if they win, you win, and it's the same thing. You know, so long as we're working together, we're all going to win. So long as we keep that in mind. Yeah, so next question.
Thank you very much for the one system is the modern and answer those and now I should say whether you know let me ask answer or BTV. My question is basically on the role of microeconomics to boost the microeconomics model to boost productivity and productivity, still the economy for people in the diaspora and for these SMEs that they have to.
Yeah, thank you for that good question. And in terms of role of ABSA in supporting the microeconomics and specifically the MSCs as well of this country, we appreciate the contribution of SME. Actually, likely 70 to 80% of households are employed by SMEs. If you recall, when I was making the submission, I said the last few weeks of last month, the previous month, we were all over the country in partnering with the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce to support the SMEs. And that's how we met Professor, who was our key guest speaker. So far, I've been encouraging. After is the only market that gives unsecured limits of 10 million shilling. We have one of the robust programs when it comes to women in business. We have supported a number of women to grow their businesses. And we also have a graduate program. Recently, as late as last week, 200 women graduated in that program where we are supporting them, mentoring them in terms of how to grow businesses. What I feel when I support you to do your business growth to share, then definitely that's economic empowerment. And after the mega economy, because that's the big money contributes also to the of this country. We also partner with African Guarantee Funds. So in case of anybody who wants a life limits, then they come in and take part of that shift. So obviously, one of the key things is saying an empowered population and empowered person. Because I have told you, likely most of the businesses, whether registered or not registered license. So if we support you with access to cheap credits, then ideally speaking, we are aspiring the economy of this country. So you look at the economic factors in terms of inflation, we are able to push on you as well. So basically, there's the inflation and you have liquidity, then definitely we are pushing you and in terms of poverty reduction. So if we empower you in terms of financial inclusion, then definitely poverty. So obviously, so when you empower a person group financing, when you empower them, then it has a direct impact in terms of the economy of this country. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt the question and answer, but I just want to add how many those of you there is I want to start and really I want to let you nice hand one to the first quote, then we can follow them. See the one to honor us and before. So let's put our hands together and really.
I think we want to question. Thank you. You have a question.
So that's the last one.
And do you have any other questions perhaps for the other panelists as well?
I think the respondents are not yet happy with the questions with the answer to get.
What would they take?
I believe they are trying to ask two questions. One is the process of opening accounts is not yet complete and has not been answered.
Well, we've been told that you need.
Yeah. Number two is mortgage loans. And she touched on mortgage loans.
Yeah.
And I want to hear, you said you give loans, yeah? Mortgage loans. People who are living in the diaspora, they do not have any credit here. And we know very well those are credits to Canada. Yeah. How can they get a mortgage? That is what they are trying to ask. How do I get a mortgage? And I want you to look at it this way. You are talking about a 4 billion economy, which is the diaspora economy. As you answer that question, you need to ask yourself, how did each bank manage to get those accounts close to 500,000 accounts in the diaspora over 90 days, and now they don't have what went wrong? So how can you facilitate and track the process of opening accounts within 24 hours? Even within 4 hours, somebody to have an account. And then how do you give this money so that you can tie their salaries in the Western world with the accounts here and the projects they are doing, and that is why they are in Manila today. So those are the questions that you give. They want to be answered, and they are feeling that they have not been answered. Am I right there? Okay. So I want that panel from here to tell us, apart from the legal experts, to tell us how that needs to be done and facilitated quickly. Then I'll give you an answer.
Let's do this just for the sake of not repeating. From what I had from you guys, to open an account with you, you need an ID, that's the passport. ID card, you need a KRA number, you need a photo, and in some instances, you might need someone to confirm that that's you don't need that.
That was previous.
Okay, that was previous. So now that's now on the menu.
Correct.
You also confirm that you believe or at least open to trying to connect different.
Can open online.
So you can open online, you can go to our website actually and open an account at the moment. And the other way will be getting admission to one of the first. My name is Elizabeth. I take care of criminal business. So Premier Business is basically taking care of relationship managed clients, and this includes people in the diaspora. So what we do is, I cannot actually now get application forms filled with content to from abroad, scan the application form together with your identification, and the KRA thing is that you need to give me a number. I generate the thing from it. So we basically are able to account for my entity, or you can go to the system and open the account. I think on the account of the yes.
Just want to be clear, this is for personal account. If you are doing this account, I know there's a requirement to go and see the person, even though the person knows.
I understand, and that's why Premier relationship managed businesses are easy to open because we have that relationship and we are able to do business with them when we are abroad. But for business accounts, I know there's a lot of paperwork, and yes, I'm not at the part. Maybe you can answer that from that stage. So are we clear on the personal account opening?
Let me just.
You said something about it.
I think so. That was on the account opening. On the mortgage, let me just touch a bit on that. On the mortgage, we don't need your history. These are the insured facilities, and that gives the bank the comfort that you can lend to even from abroad. So
What do you mean by
mortgage,
secured?
What
do you mean by secured? Just
okay, secure. A mortgage is a house loan. So the house you are buying, for example, now that you have an investment here in Managed Market, you probably want to construct or buy houses. So we come in and give you money to build. So that house you are building becomes the security. Okay. So because of that, we have, at least we are comfortable. That's why we don't need to look at your history. But again, we need to look at your income. Because we cannot give you a loan and cannot able to pay. Now, for diaspora, we only require you to put at least a little more. I know for locals in Kenya, we support 90% of the cost of the house or the price of the house. But for diaspora, we want you to put at least 30% because we realize it's hard. We can't see you like, you know. Yeah, so because of that, we just require you to put a little more, like 30% of the cost, and then we support you 70%.
Okay. So let me just add something to talk about. Maybe just to for clarity, we only not give salary to people, we also give self-employed. And when I mentioned about a seamless account of the process, that to be clear as well, I say effective actually next year, the first quarter, we'll have a dedicated diaspora desk. What that means, we already have an approved budget. This person will be coming to diaspora to appreciate your needs. And in case now you might want any other issue, they'll come and address it specifically. Now for mortgages or secured facilities, I didn't mention, we can also use your history where you're banking before. We have experts who can to read those things, so you don't have to come. In case I want to believe, even if you are doing a business where in terms of diaspora, you must have a history or in terms of your banking. We actually in those documentations. I recall like last month alone, we gave almost around 20%. Yeah, it was with around for people living in diaspora. So basically, at the bank, we are keen to support others. And that's actually we are among the largest sponsors of this event because that tells you is the journey that you want to work with the people that get us there. And I told you even in terms of organizing, we'll have dedicated guards who will make sure that everything is watertight. So that now you don't spend money or you buy a property that's come and has issues. You don't have that, you do all the organizing for you to make sure that when you come back, at least you did one that property. Because we've seen a number of challenges where many people transfer and send them cash. That's why I'm asking what your opinion is part of the transfer. If you have been said in my opening remarks. Thank you so much.
I'm apologize, the answer was outside the question we have been asked, but is land, you talk about mortgage, so we've got proximity points. I'm excited that there's titanium here. I want to buy 1,000 acres, but I don't have the cash. Can I come to you and get a loan to buy land? And how much do I need to put down and what are the requirements? So, and again, maybe you have a special deal today because there's a conference here for city. And if you don't, I see DTP there.
Let me take that quickly. Thank you for that question. The answer is yes. We have a product called an executive loan. An executive loan is whereby you can use land as security. So what you come, you just need to come to us to give us your statements for the last 6 months that show maybe your source of income, that will also confirm the eligibility and how much the amount you qualify for. So in terms of the loan to value, depending on your history, in terms of your services, but more specifically in terms of your workings and in terms of your income, you can go up to 70% of the value of that land. And the term for that is 7 years. So we can go up to 7 years. I don't know if I'm answering you. So yes, we give a loan to purchase land. Pricing, spend, we negotiate. So it's not cast in stone. But actually our pricing is based on the TRS. There is not a reason balance. You whereby every month I pay interest because the client. The interest is not fixed. Roughly 12.75. We are paying depending 14.5, but I'm just telling you.
Good afternoon. Besides the land aspects, I would wish to broaden the discussion. We also do funding of serialized machinery, motor vehicles, and all related aspects to do with the production line. So just to broaden the conversation, have that in mind, that ABSA also funds that is related to serialized machinery.
Thank you so much for adding that. So, fortunately, we now have lunch. And if you have any questions, I would ask that you follow up in the back. And yeah, so I'm so sorry about that. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I know maybe I might not be able to meet each of us individually, but kindly, if I can share my contact, if I take my name and my email address, my contact, my phone number, 0721 553 852. Do phone, answer. Email address DOUFOLD dot sorry DOUFOLD dot ODNLGN at ABSA. Do phone number 0721 553 852. So that person will looking for an application, call me, and then you'll be you'll know our doctors. I can prove you will do it in a record time. Thank you.
So I think what we'll do, I will request you if you can take those details and take that as well. You can just put them on the projector and then you can take it, take all the details. And I'm not much of a capitalist myself. I studied social business and government, so that's my line. But one thing we know is the market always provides. If you don't do it, someone else will. So better catch this wave, whether it's ABSA, whether it's TV, and if you both of them, there'll be somebody else too. To take that mantle. But
I do have to say, as a Kenyan, I'm very proud of even just being involved in this event. It gives me so much hope. Because no one, go back home, all it is back to that. It can get an opportunity to go back home, you know. So I've been very, very inspired by this conversation. Thank you all for your questions. Thank you for, you know, withstanding the, the rigorous questioning. And I hope, you know, we can all find a way to work together. If you have any follow-up questions, we'll share the contacts. But yeah, I think I'll bring the session to a close. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to so I think lunch is ready. We'll be at the same spot for lunch.
This is the panelists and basic answer for this that's coming out. Thank you very much. The others will answer questions. I think I'm just through because Marianne was supposed to give the lecture, but the honorable leaders requested the cover, and so I had to ask them to give over the responsibility. So the lunch is being served at the seaside. So there's a big dining hall and a swimming pool. So that is anticipation because we know people coming from far and wide like to so we have some trauma, some special dishes and things like that. So please make your way. Let's go fast. Sorry. I can see the so you'll find our space has not been used, so you'll find one big part of the dining hall that has not been used by anybody else. So that's where we're going for. Let's go straight for lunch now, because we have been waiting for that for some time. After lunch, we'd like to come back in an hour. It's still quite a lot. We have our director of lunch here, James Kamau, will be answering very interesting questions. And just give them to those of our company. We also have part of the issues that were not addressed in the morning. So please don't take so much time for lunch unless they just an hour for that. Thank you.